Happy Sunday morning, VCers. Matt here. Thought I would chime in with yet another Kinks review, continuing on with the Kinks. So, congratulations, Irish. You won your first game. Granted, it was only Rice, and TCU won two, and they played, Samford and Son University. But a win is a win, and so let's keep that up, both TCU and Notre Dame. So the Kinks, we're going to review the Kinks. First off, I wanted to, a couple of little things. Adam Lee drew the winners for his contest this morning. So if you haven't had a chance, go over and check Adam Lee's channel out, and you can watch him drawing for he drew 3 winners in his contest. Had a good contest, and congratulations, Adam, on your subscriptions. They're all well deserved, and congratulations to the winners. My contest, the song intro contest, ends midnight tonight. I will be drawing the winner tomorrow sometime, probably around this time, sometime during the day tomorrow. You list your favorite song intros, and you can just list them or you can play them, and you do some impersonations and some artwork and some other goofy fun stuff. But there's only 8 people that have entered that contest, so you still have 24 hours. With 8 people, the odds are pretty good that someone's going to win. The first prize, Robert Z will come over and wash your car for a year. Someone's going to win that. 8 people, good odds. But I encourage everyone to increase the odds by jumping in here with this last 24 hours and making your entry. You can check my channel and find all the what and wherefore and how to and so forth on that contest. The 8 people that have entered, I've done this several times, but I just want to read their name one more time to make sure if somebody's entered that I don't know about, please send me, get in touch with me somehow, email or send me a message through YouTube so I'll know that you did an entry so I can include you in the drawing. But the 8 I have are Adam Lee, Mean Mr. Mayo, Robert Zebra, Steffi Vaughn, Bobby Gass, Karsten Olston, Mr. Hall of Fame Brandon, and Andy Hall. So I know there's a bunch of others of you out there. I would like to see you entered, and you can win the prize. So the challenge, the decade challenge, I did my own version of that last night. Late last night I was up. So chime in with that. There's been 3 or 4 people that have done that so far. It's not a contest, just for fun. So there's no deadline. So do all that. Check out Adam Lee's channel and his contest drawing and his other great videos. So yeah. Anyway, we move on to 1978. The new Kinks album that year is Misfits. There's a funhouse mirror picture of Ray Davies on the front. Same of Dave on the back. His eyes don't usually look like that. Got an insert that has the rest of the band and similarly distorted picture there, and this opens up so as you can follow the lyrics along at home while you listen to the record. This is their second album on Arista, I guess I say Arista Records. There's the album itself, and there's the Arista Records. So this is their third label. They started out on Reprise in America and moved to RCA. They were on Pi in England. They moved to RCA after Lola and went on RCA through Schoolboys in Disgrace and moved to Arista. Their first album was Sleepwalker, the one that came out in 1977, the year before this. A couple of theories I was thinking about with Ray Davies, since he's the principal songwriter of the Kinks, is that you had the 60s. He writes some of the greatest, most beautiful, most wonderful, basically invents punk rock and heavy metal with You Really Got Me, some of the greatest albums in music ever. And then he kind of does a about face in the early 70s after Lola. Gets into all these concept albums, which might have been just a sign of the times. Rock operas and concept albums, big production stuff being par for the course in the early 70s. Bands were stretching out and so forth and so on. Some people say that went a little too far, and that's why we needed punk rock and new wave to come along in '76 or so to give rock a good kick in the ass and get it back on track. But anyway, so all these concept albums. Now we get to the Arista period. Clive Davis was the owner, president, Grand Banana, whatever the label. What I've heard is that when he signed the Kinks from RCA to Arista, he said, I don't want any of these big concept rock opera. I just want you guys to go back to making albums of songs again. And that's exactly what they did, more or less. My theory being that in the days of Face to Face, Something Else, Village Green Preservation Society, and Arthur, as great as those albums are, and they did have a cult following, and they've been in the years since elevated to masterpiece status, I guess, for lack of a better word. At the time, they didn't really sell, especially in America. Part of that was because the Kinks being banned in America from '65 to '69. But they had hits in England, but they didn't have hits like they did in the early days, and a lot of their albums didn't really sell. So I'm thinking maybe Ray thought, well, Pearls Before Swine, well, waste my time. I'll just try to give the people what they want, which ends up being a name of a Kinks album down the road. But anyway, maybe that's what happened. Maybe talent is finite. Maybe there's a lot of bands that have one-hit wonders. Maybe that's all they got in them. And even the bands that are really good. I mean, the Rolling Stones haven't made anything worth listening to in 30 years, and even though they made quite a few albums. The Beatles solo albums, a lot of them are great, but they were never as good as the Beatles. And so Elvis was never as good after he went in the army, I think, anyway. I mean, so maybe talent, you use it up and there it goes. Maybe Ray just had a change of heart and figured why bother making things like Village Green and Arthur if nobody's buying them and listening to them. Or maybe he thought, haven't had a hit in a while, let me try to reformat the band to write songs that maybe the radio will play and people like and be hits, which he didn't have much luck with post Lola. Some of the songs off those rock opera albums got some airplay, but nothing really became a huge hit. So maybe now he's reformatting the band again to just do songs instead of the big concepts. And maybe it's because he just got the rock opera bug out of his system finally, which is kind of a good thing because those albums weren't great, even though they had their moments. Or maybe he just thought, well, that's not working as far as sales and hits and notice and so forth. Let me try to just go back to writing songs again. I don't know what he was thinking there, but it's probably one of those things. So even though these aren't concept albums or rock operas, Sleepwalkers nor Misfits, they do have a theme running through them of sorts. Sleepwalker doesn't have a story, doesn't have characters, doesn't have a big production, and not all the songs fit the mode, but several of the songs deal with restlessness, sleep, nocturnal happenings, dreams, etc. Misfits, same thing. Several of the songs, not all of them, deal with being out of place, not fitting in, being different. Of course, Misfits, the title track, is a perfect example of that. So, but what about this album? Well, the Kinks, of course, get big again in the early 80s, kind of MTV darlings, and fit right in with what's going on with the punk and new wave. They're not quite there yet. They're getting there on these two albums, but they're not quite there. And this album, I really don't have too much to say about it. It's like with Sleepwalker. It's just not. It just doesn't move me, baby, as Elvis Presley once said. It's it sounds. A lot of it sounds like typical AOR rock that you would hear on the FM dial circa 1977 and 1978. Not the good stuff, just the sort of faceless background music stuff. And that's one problem with it. The other thing is that this doesn't really sound like the Kinks too much to me. Sounds like they're trying to be somebody else in order probably to get some radio play and hits and notice. There are moments here and there where the Kinks feel, vibe, personality shows through, but most of these songs are just sort of some good guitar, some good instrumentation, but just sort of formless, sit there and don't really go anywhere songs, most of them. Kind of like Sleepwalker was, which I wasn't crazy about either. As not a terrible album, it's just not much to sink your teeth onto on either one of them. So with Misfits, we've got the title track is a pretty good song. Rock and Roll Fantasy was the other 45 from this album. I'm not crazy about it. In a Foreign Land, some people like. I don't really. Yeah, what else we got on here? Out of the Wardrobe is just terrible. Trust Your Heart is a Dave Davies song instead of a Ray song, and it's pretty god awful. Permanent Waves, pretty fun song. The guy's depressed. He goes to the doctor. The doctor tells him that if he gets a permanent in his hair, life will be grand and sunshine and lollipops and happiness. So he does, and it does, but then he walks outside and it's raining and his permanent falls flat and washes out, so now he's all depressed again. But then he realizes that once it stops raining, he can go get another permanent and life will be grand again. Silly, but a good song. And I guess Ray, I don't know what maybe he's just goofing around, but maybe he's saying that if you got problems, you can't just superficially fix things. You got to look at the root of what's the problem and fix that. Maybe that's a little heavy and deeper than what he could have written this thing in 5 minutes. I don't know. That's kind of what I get out of it. You can't just go out and buy a bunch of stuff or buy a new wardrobe or whatever and expect that everything's going to be fine. Or maybe he's just wanted to write a fun, goofy song. So Permanent Waves and Misfits, those are the two pretty good songs on this album, even though nothing essential here at all, really. Black Messiah is a kind of strange song about race relations, and I'm not exactly sure what he's saying there. It's musically, it's an okay song. Hay Fever, nice musically, silly lyrically. And so, yeah, they're getting to where they will have radio-friendly hits that are actually good songs pretty soon here, but they're not there yet. And these are just sort of treading water albums, holding pace albums. I don't know. I gave Sleepwalker a 5, I think. I'm going to give this a 4. If you're just getting into the Kinks, this isn't the place to start. If you're just getting into the Kinks, none of their 70s albums are the place to start. If you do want to start in the 70s, go with Lola or Low Budget. Don't go with any of these, but don't start there anyway. Start in the 60s. So yeah, a 4. It's got some nice guitar and some nice music instrumentation, but it's really just not much here. Things will get better. We will continue with the Kinks, and happy Sunday, everybody. Congratulations again to the winners in Adam Lee's contest, and like I say, jump in on my contest. You got roughly 24 hours to do so, or a little less than that, but jump in. You might win a prize, and it's a good one. Have a happy Sunday.